Right, greens everybody, and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at some stuff from the newest update, mostly our new character. But before we do that, let's touch on something that is a little bit banner related. Well, actually, it's very banner related. So we have another reincarnation festival. Here you can see the winners of all the elements across here. If you are playing on the JP side, it's a pretty good deal right now to potentially get, just spend 2K and get one of these characters. However, you might feel a little bit scared seeing that, Kitane as well as Bulk are on there and the only two low cost units. So may the odds ever be in your favor. There are, paid options as well if you're looking to spend money. And yeah, here you can see it's like 5K for like select status and all that. But at least in the meantime, it's going to be basically just some extra free shards for the character if you're choosing for a week. Okay, now let's get into talking about Rain. So new version, well, ish. I say new version of Rain because this version of Rain actually came out like, season 2 of FFB, which was many years ago. And you can even see a very similar animation of Crimson Nova here all over again. And for whatever reason, Rain just kind of destroying some planets there, I guess. So much for life. Either way, this is mostly known as Chair Rain in the FFBE community because in his winning animation, he usually would sit down on his throne because he's King Rain. And so the community kind of has dubbed him Chair Rain. That has not changed for the purpose of this video. As for, I did read a comment for someone who said, hey, if you're going to pull this character, can you show him off in 3D? I can't. You guys all chose at the beginning of the year 2 elements that I was never allowed to do pulls for, fire and lightning. I can't do any pulls for this. Well, I mean, besides tickets, because I'm not going to let tickets waste. I don't care if that one rubs people the wrong way. That's like letting free tickets go to waste. That's like letting food spoil. It's just bad. So here's your 3D model. You'll see a little bit, but I mean, guess what? It's going to be Cape on the other side. So let's now just jump over, get into map. I actually still haven't found a map that I particularly like. Oh, we also have a story update. I guess that's how you know this is the first time I'm recording this video up to this point. All right, let's just go with, I think, this one, right? Not that it matters too terribly much. Jumping up or down, I guess, to our fire elemental theme and throwing in our new version of Rain, which, by the way, Rebirth is basically over at this point, but it's interesting that Rufus is still available as a friend unit, at least for now, because that's gone kind of thing. So here you can see him in a fire elemental party, 14k HP, about 1900 attack. Accuracy is at 58, which is not the best I've seen. Defense and spirit seem okay. Speed 112. That is without, however, Hermes sandals, so I think it's pretty good representation. Stats. Single target resistance is also particularly pretty nice, just off of noting stat related. Also, resistances generally positive across the board, and the same with elemental resistance, meaning that with this combination of equipment, he's looking pretty solid in terms of everything that he has. Should be noted that no curse resistance, which could be one of the more scary things for him. But cutting to the chase, he is looking very much like an offensive character with plenty of defensive capabilities, and not, how do I say this, as a defensive tank that has offensive capabilities. That's at least from the brief overview that I've looked at with him. And here, looking in our test party for a little bit of a different result, you can see stats changed a bit, but not too terribly much. Seems generally fine. And again, resistances are overall a net positive. I feel like if there's anything to worry about with this character, it's probably going to be status resistance, which could end up being more scary for this character, actually. Now, Great Sword, I think it's just going to be a overall nice little skin for this character. But taking a look, is exclusive to rain bonuses only. So this is not a great sword that you'll be able to throw on any character and just get good bonuses out of it, which is always a little bit disappointing, but does seem to be the way things are nowadays. So fire ability attack up by 30%. Grants AP recovery during non-damage actions, which is curious. So if you use a support-based skill, anything that doesn't do damage, it does give you AP recovery, which is very unique. Also increases accuracy by 20 when HP is over 50%. I guess snowballing, we'll see whether or not his performance during against evasion teams is actually any. Talking about Trust Mastery. Trust Mastery is a piece of armor which automatically depreciates it at least a little bit, just because, well, it's less equipable by characters out there than just an accessory. But we are looking at recovery of AP and the reduction of targets AoE attack resistance for 3 turns before attacking for 4 turns. So AP recovery is interesting. Yes, we'll test that out. And area attack resistance for 3 turns down is nice if you've an AoE character, which there is. So it's fine for him, but AP recovery and speed are always going to be the king of determining whether this TMR sees the light of day at all. And I personally don't think so, but again, we'll see. So getting into our supports for just the green skills, as we like to say. So his 2 main ones are slash attack resistance penetration, AoE resistance penetration of 40 each, debuff effect weakening of 20, and when a non-damage skill is cast, he will get reduce physical and magical damage reduction of 30% for 1 turn for stealth. When he casts an offensive skill, he gets a different ability, which is a 25% damage increase for 1 turn. This is really good. You will always be running this ability. I will not hear questions about this. This is the one that you always want. Taking a look at our other ability here, increase. Actually, this is listed a little bit different from. Oh wait, sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing. That's why my mouse clicked. Duh. Attack increase and AP consumption decrease, which is also pretty nice. Critical answer does have critical rate and defense penetration. Great and nullify confusion and stun and accuracy increase, which are both interesting depending on which opponents you are fighting. Accuracy and stun would be great against evasion types. Oh, good. Looking at the other one, the Great Knight or Grand Knight or whatever the other sub-job is, attack and defense penetration up and pierce and missile resistance. Also pretty synergistic with him, seeing that his counter ability, his main counter ability, is chance to counter slash and missile damage at 70% by reducing 30% damage. So this is the counter to Elena as well as Rufus, or maybe it's the partner to Elena and Rufus, but he is kind of pushing back against missile damage, so we're already starting to see the attack. The other ones, countering damage and reducing damage taken, or countering damage and healing damage. Probably his main one will generally be the one that most people will land on being nice and good for him, but we'll see in the long run. Now, Critical Answer, piercing base abilities don't synergize necessarily with the damage type that is his main damage type, but does have piercing damage, so at least is kind of nice. And with the critical rate and attack up, there is some synergy here with the type of thing that Rain is looking to do. Great Knight also has some interesting stuff, such as decreasing fire resistance, inflicting stun for a turn, or dispelling auto restore. So sub-jobs do have some value that will probably be quite nice. Things that you are giving up for them, however, this one, restore HP, dispelling certain status effects such as frostbite, blind, slow, restoring CT of 300 when his HP is over 30%. Interesting. And the other ability, a very short range full break, 20 for defense and spirit down, 39% for attack and magic. Feels pretty easy to give up. Trick Lancer versus Grand Knight. Grand Knight synergizes more with his main job. However, Trick Lancer is kind of weird, and maybe there is a cause that him plus more could actually be a really nice winning combination. We'll see. But there is a discussion to be had about what sub-job it is. I think I'll probably go with Trick Lancer because I could see that with the fire and wind and lightning being somewhat close, then maybe that could be interesting. But put a big pin in that in the maybe category. Limit Burst decreases defense by 30 for 3 turns, fire resistance by 30%, 240 mod, and decreases healing 40%. Honestly, it feels pretty mid. If it wasn't a triple hitter, if it wasn't like just a generally nice package, it's just okay, I think. But it does do a lot of things. It is permanently in his kit, so you're probably just going to be upgraded anyway. Now, getting into the main job. The main job here has a lot of neat stuff. First off, 2-hitter on his basic attack, which, cool. A little bit of access to cheap chaining. Always nice. This ability reduces the damage taken by 50% for 4 turns. Elf increases fire attack by 35 for 4 turns. Grants the effects of sealing barrier destruction for 3 turns. When a friendly unit is within range, it casts 2 abilities. Number 1, enemies. Actually, it's read that it is friendly, but it actually is enemy effects. Enemy aura effects. Nullify CT up for enemies and decrease elemental chain resistance by 30 for enemies. So kind of an interesting one to be running. Rain is dangerous to be close to, as this aura effect does affect the character negatively. Now, this ability is one of the biggest walls of text I've come across in a while, so I'm skipping it for a moment and going on to this next one, which is the Breaker ability. Breaks physical barriers, 200% mod, and decreases CT by a factor of 25 per target. Interesting, just because it does have some CT down. He is preventing CT up already, but now he can also CT down his opponents, so that's kind of nasty. Breaking barriers, however, is one of the key things that we look for in our damage dealers, because barriers are everywhere. If you are protecting your own barriers and destroying others' barriers, you will be a much more effective damage dealer. This is great. It is physical barriers only, but it's still nice. Next one, our large AoE, which when upgraded fully is a non-friendly fire ability, so we won't be able to test this later, but definitely worth noting, is a triple hitter. Reduces physical damage taken increase buff for enemies, as well as reduces the physical damage taken the larger the attack size area attack size is buff for enemies, and magical, bigger the area buff, basically reducing those damage reduction effects. Defense penetration of 40 for 3 turns for himself, 200 mod, 75% mod increase, there are 3 more enemies in it, and a 200% chance for physical damage reduction, 20% for 3 turns for enemies. So there's a lot. Rain is pushing a lot of power with the abilities that we've already seen here, and we haven't gotten to the last few. This one, which is not listed correctly on Wotv Calc, Grand Shelt Saber increases your own single target attack resistance penalty. It deals extra large damage to the targets with him. It is a guaranteed hit, and the new effect for this ability is that it increases the damage the more times you use it. If you use it like 5 times in a fight, its damage will go up. There is an actual max to this, and single target resistance penetration rate, I should say, is 50 for self. And there is no actual turn listing on that, so I'm not entirely sure about that. But I remember seeing the posting on the actual unit detail, and I think that does have like maybe 3 or 5 time limit. I can't imagine that it would go much higher. All right, so bringing back to this one. This one is a little bit annoying just because we have a mass list of stuff on here. So I'm going to try and get through this as best I can. Absorbs 50% of the damage done for 4 turns for allies if the targets have one of the following things. And this one of the following things basically affects everything that I'm going to talk about. So let's just say that reducing magical damage, base attack range, or re-raise, what triggers all of this stuff. It's a little bit weird the way it is done in here, but essentially this effect will basically trigger these. Decreasing AP consumption by 30% for 4 turns for allies if one of the 2 effects that we mentioned earlier is on there, reducing physical damage and reducing magical damage the larger the attack size is for 4 turns at 35%. 200% chance auto revive for self. Increases AoE resistance penetration by 30 for self. Grants the effect upon a hit of negative fire resistance of 15% for self. It's just a massive list. And restore 20 AP for self if you have the effect. It does a lot of stuff, and I think it's interesting that a 50% HP restore for not only him but for allies as well is a lot. Greatswords are already insanely good and have access to a ton of healing, so increasing that healing by another factor is, healing power down feels like it's going to be real. Overall, Rain, I foresee this character absolutely partnering up with Zac really, really nicely. He is kind of just pro fire in a big way, but I don't know if that's access to the best partners that he can have right now. Like putting AC Sephiroth with him will be a decision. Putting Soul with him will be a decision. But I think that the Great Sword team, maybe him, AC Cloud, Zac, maybe there's enough healing in there to get by and ignore Karsha for a little bit. I do see Rain being one of the better characters in the game, which is, at the very least from my perspective, a little bit frustrating because he's an FFE character. Didn't think he needed to be this good, but whatever. People are going to make those kind of decisions. But yeah, if you consider the fact that Rufus has kind of been appreciated in evaluation, like taking a really quick look, Rufus is up in triple S category with a ton of other characters after Rebirth is finished now. So that kind of tells you a little bit about what some people are thinking about him. So a character like this who might be push Greatswords into saying, no, we don't need the gun package, get rid of that now. Knockback won't be a big deal because we're still going to get there. We're still going to kill you one way or another. Definitely think that Rain will be getting there and done. We'll test them out in the following video, but that's all for now. Thanks so much for watching, and see you later.